When studying the history of a society, fashion was once considered a trivial matter. However, historians are now looking intently at fashions and self-presentation as insightful revelations of a culture's identity. Keeping this in mind, I would like you to join me in a brief glimpse of the personal grooming habits of men in Western culture from the late 19th through mid-20th century, specifically shaving and the importance of the barbershop. The management of facial hair has always been a medium of gendered body language, and as such has elicited a nearly continuous private and public conversation about manliness. Few men have groomed themselves in complete ignorance of its social implications. Rather than examining the great wars and rise and falls of civilizations that have shaped history, let us instead focus on the personal routines in which the individual man participated. During the Victorian era is when modern personal hygiene as a concept first began to emerge. An article in Decorum magazine published in 1881 states that it was a man's duty to make himself pleasing in appearance. Social conventions endlessly reminded people that they were on constant display in a world where others judged them by their outward appearance. Amusingly, as Victorian values encouraged people to present themselves in the best image possible, in Britain there was a backlash against the practice of men shaving their faces. Surprisingly, during the late 1840s and into the middle of the late 1860s, many pamphlets and books were published that warned the Victorian public about the supposed dangers of shaving. This idea was so popular that the Times often advocated men growing out their beards. The reasons for not shaving ranged from the supposed lengthy time required for a man to shave to a small but persistent belief that barbers should not be trusted because few of them had risen to eminence in the world. Strange as this idea sounds, there were even more outlandish reasons why men should not shave. Some people promoted the idea that men should avoid shaving for reasons of good health. Proponents of this idea argued that shaving endangered the lives of men and threatened their respiratory organs in particular. During the era when air quality in most major cities was of poor quality due to industrialization, it was believed a thick mustache would act as a natural respirator that filtered the air and protected the wearer from harm. Additionally, the beard was seen as a way to keep men's necks warm, and that by shaving, men would expose their neck to the environment, the elements, causing bronchitis and hoarseness of speech. Even more extreme arguments in favor of keeping a beard suggested that shaving was a cause of facial cancer and blindness. These beliefs led to a brief period of the popularity of men growing full beards in Britain that was then emulated in the United States. However, after nearly 2 generations of popularity, facial hair lost favor in the first decade of the 20th century. It was at this point that the clean-shaven face gained precedence. According to the 20th century gender code, a clean-shaven man's virtue was his commitment to his male peers and to local, national, or corporate institutions. During the early 20th century, American men increasingly entered professions in which the prevailing virtues were teamwork, energy, cooperation, and good manners. As these qualities were associated with youth and in the name of professional discipline and hygiene, the expectations for men were to maintain a clean-shaven face. The distinctive red, white, and blue stripes of the barber pole signified the location of a male enclave, the barbershop. Barbershops were sure institutional vestiges of an exclusive male world apart from womankind. Although King C. Gillette introduced his safety razor and disposable blades to the world in the 1890s, the barbershop would remain a popular location for men to seek the clean-shaven look. While most blue-collar workers only had a professional shave when they went for a haircut, many businessmen stopped in at the barbershop every morning on their way to work for a shave. Sociability at the barbershop was enhanced through regular contact. Men might have little choice in the barber they patronized, especially in small towns, but barbers knew it was important that customers should feel comfortable. In the familiarity of the barbershop, men not only had their hair cut and faces shaven, they shared a sense of community. The male-centered barbershop overall declined in popularity in the latter half of the 20th century, and although it is currently experiencing a small resurgence in interest, it may never return to the center of social prominence it once held for men in Western culture. Much like the diminishing popularity of barbershops, men's shaving experienced a decline with the return of facial hair as fashionable again among certain members of the male population. However, there are still a great number of men who choose to maintain the clean-shaven look and who practice the personal art of shaving.